Welcome back to Tools for Fighter Pilots, the podcast where we break down the mindset, tactics, and culture of elite aviators and apply them to business, leadership, and life. I am TC, and I'll be your host. Even before the first time I stepped into a jet, or even better, even before I started pilot training with the Italian Air Force on the little propeller CI Marchetti SF260 in 1993, my instructor told me, up there, you don't rise to the occasion, you sink to your level of preparation. And I remember all IPs saying, whatever you study on the ground will be available for you in a small percentage in the air. In the cockpit, there is no pause button. Execution comes after hours, days, weeks, and months of preparation. Over the years, I've learned that there are 5 principles, 5 non-negotiables that every fighter pilot lives by. And here is the thing. Those same principles can transform how you lead in business, how you compete in sport, and how you live in your life. These aren't tips, they are the baseline operating code. Let's get into them. I am TC, and this is Tools of Fighter Pilots. Non-negotiable of fighter pilots, number 1, be on time. In the world of fighter jets, being late is not an option. Every second counts, and even a minor delay can have catastrophic consequences. In 2007, I was flying the F-16 in a complex TLP, Tactical Leadership Program mission, taking off from Florens in Belgium and operating in Germany. My wingman and myself were tasked as sweep, so we would take off in front of the package of 30 airplanes, swipe the area from any air-to-air threat in a segregated airspace over Germany. The absence of the sweep was considered a showstopper for the entire mission. If it wouldn't be there, then the mission would have been cancelled. We started on time, and I'm about to taxi while I see the crew chief that gives me the classic sign of the straight hand under the neck with a cutting motion. Dude, you need to shut down that bird. So I directed right away my wingman to taxi out and take off alone to be on time, ready to go. And I told him, I'm gonna join you. And I knew it could be done. The moment I've shut down, the crew chief are jumping over the aircraft and are trying to fix things. I keep the battery on and I'm listening to the radio calls to know what's happening with the package and who is going to taxi and who is going to take it off. It was an easy fix. Don't ask me what happened because I don't know and I don't remember, but I was ready for takeoff just 5 minutes behind the last aircraft of the package. At this point, my brain and the hamsters in my brain started running on the wheel like crazy to find a way to make up some time. So, once airborne, I requested approval for supersonic flight, which should not have happened because of the congested airspace in Europe. But that day I was lucky enough and I received a clearance to climb flight level 400 and go supersonic for a few minutes. That was enough. At that point, I could see on the radar the package regrouping in the ROS, Restricted Operated Zone, and I realized that I made some time. I actually checked in with the AWACS and I was able to rejoin with my wingman just 1 minute before our push time. This unwavering, almost obsessive commitment to punctuality is a cornerstone of military aviation. It's a value that extends far beyond the cockpit and can be a powerful asset in any field. When you're listening to my story, you might say, but this is not really applicable to my situation. It's not really applicable to me. Let me tell you more. In business, being on time tells clients and colleagues that you are dependable. If you're missing a window in business and the deal is going to go to someone else, you don't want to show up late at a meeting in person or even worse on Zoom. You want to be ready 5 minutes earlier. You are leading by example. In sport, if you're showing up late and you've already started behind, imagine going for an Ironman and now you're waiting in transition area and then the gun goes off and you're still there. In life, being on time lowers stress, earns trust, and keeps relationships strong. So, you may ask, why is punctuality so important as a leadership tool? As we said before, first of all, respect for the others. Being on time demonstrates respect for your women, for your colleagues, superiors, and subordinates. It shows that you value their time and contribution. Efficiency. Punctuality leads to a more efficient workflow. When everyone is on time, meetings, projects, and deadlines are more likely to be met. Reliability. Be punctual builds trust and reliability. People can count on you to be there when they need you. Punctuality isn't about the clock, it's about reliability under pressure. So you may ask, how to be on time? Calendars are filled up with appointments and meetings, and agendas are filled up with deadlines. For many of us, being on time is a challenge. Having enough time is a challenge. But we used to do something very interesting in the fighter pilot community, especially on important missions where time was considered a weapon. While planning for an important mission, time can be stolen while you hyper-focus on details. So, as a flight leader, you designate a time master. Somebody who constantly reminds you about T minus 30, T minus 15, T minus 5, where T is your takeoff time. You can appoint anybody in your organization to be the time master. It's a practical way to create that sense of accountability that you need either to stop doing what you're doing and devote the attention to the next task, or schedule your events with more time margin. This is valid for business, for sport, for life. And also technology can help us a lot with devices which can create reminders also for things that seem small, like fueling on the bike during training and racing. Imagine fueling too late or forgetting about it during an Ironman catastrophe. What about instead sending a reminder on your bike computer or wristwatch where you will gonna be told that you need to fuel? What about being our own time master? How important is to collect your kids from school or take them to horse riding? Mothers and fathers have a great time awareness and they're always on time. But some others, why not trying to make your kids responsible to remind you? Before concluding, I would like to think about the last time your timing made or broke an opportunity. Timing is supposed to be your weapon. How could being consistently early change the way that people see you? I'm MTC, and this is Tools of Fighter Pilots. Non-negotiable of fighter pilots number 2. Anything you do, be prepared. There is a saying that no plan survives first contact unless you have already rehearsed it. A pilot who is unprepared for a mission is a danger to themselves and their team. This principle extends beyond aviation and can be applied to any endeavor. Let me tell you a story. We were 4 typhoons flying a high valuable airborne asset attack off the coast of Germany. The plan was to intercept a French early warning aircraft which was taking off from a French carrier. So we were supposed to launch, refuel in the air with the tanker, rendezvous with the F-16s, split in pairs, hunt the target, return to base. Midway through, communications from the AWACS went down. We couldn't get info about the target, but we had brainstormed, planned, and rehearsed this exact situation, this exact what if before stepping to the jet. So we switched to autonomous ops and still made the intercept. That wasn't luck. There was preparation paying off when magic, the AWACS, went midnight. In business, the meetings will never go exactly as planned. Prepared leaders still succeed because they have rehearsed plan B and C. They are prepared. In sport, race day rarely matches the playbook. The best athletes adapt because they have drilled every scenario. I ask my athletes sometimes to repair a tire while they're training. And they're like, but what if I don't need it? But what if you need it during race day? In life, emergencies happen. Prepared people pivot calmly instead of panicking. So how can we incorporate preparation into our daily life as a leader? First of all, research. Gather information and knowledge related to your goals, to your situation. Practice, rehearse tasks and scenarios to build proficiency. Plan. Develop a clear plan of action and set realistic deadlines. By prioritizing preparation, you'll be better equipped to handle challenges, achieve your goals, and succeed in your endeavors. Preparation gives you options when everything else falls apart. I want you to reflect on this. I want you to ask you, if tomorrow went completely off script, what systems, skills, or backups would you have ready? What gaps would you need to close? I am TC, and this is Tools of Fighter Pilots. Non-negotiable of fighter pilots number 3, structure and checklist. Let's start with a story. On a routine combat training flight of BFM, Basic Fighter Maneuvers, 1 versus 1, I was in the offensive position and went through the Bandit jet wash. A flight control warning light popped up, I knocked off the fight, declared it on the radio, and my wingman, the checklist reader, immediately went to the emergency checklist, not from memory, but from the card in the cockpit. We followed the steps line by line, the problem was under control in under 2 minutes, no guessing, no drama. The checklist didn't slow us down, it kept us alive. How does it work for other endeavors? In business, we use SOPs, standard operating procedures and workflows, which free our mind to focus on the strategic fight instead of putting out fires. In sport, training plans and recovery routines mean you save your mental energy for competition, not logistics. In life, personal systems, meal preparation, calendars, morning rituals create space for creativity and growth. Structure is not a cage. It's a runway for freedom and speed. Having clear and generally written procedures help us to deal with variables in a more ordered and calm way. I want you to reflect on this. Where in your work or life do you rely on memory when you could rely on a system? How would a checklist or routine free up mental energy for higher value work? I am TC, and this is Tools of Fighter Pilots. Non-negotiable of fighter pilots number 4, communication and assertiveness. I want to start with this story. We are coming back from a month of deployment to Sardinia, to F-104, and I am the leader. It's a routine navigation flight back to our home base, Cervia, on the east coast of Italy, after 1 month of advanced combat training, and it's not a busy Friday afternoon on ATC frequency. 20 miles from the field, I read back exactly the instructions. We report initial 30, Veltro 11. But instead of proceeding south to join the pattern from Cesenatico and the coast, Cesenatico small village on the coast, I continue pointing at the runway from the north, basically overflying 5 miles initial, pointing inbound the opposite runway news. My wingman is an expert combat ready pilot and he jumps on the frequency. 1 from 2. Go ahead. Can you confirm we are proceeding for initial runway 30? Copy, thank you. Repositioning for runway 30. What my wingman did that day is taught in the CRM, Crew Resource Management courses as application of assertive communication. Apart from saving me from embarrassment and a probable warning from ATC, the correct and timely application of that tool put the formation on track, allowing safe operations and achieving the goal to land at home base without further problems. From a team dynamics point of view, this tool is one of the most powerful to allow wingman empowerment and building trust in your team. When you're thinking about business, when your team receives contradictory information, must be given a voice, tools to speak up. Vague instructions cause delays and mistakes. As a leader, be clear, be concise, and confirm understanding. On the other hand, as a wingman, ask for clarification by attracting the attention, prospecting the issue, and obtaining a response. In sport, the best teams talk constantly, but in short, direct bursts that leave no one guessing. In life, assertive communication avoids resentment and confusion in relationship. Clarity cuts through chaos. Say it so there is no doubt. Imagine what if my wingman hadn't talked that day and there were no other airplanes in the traffic path. Catastrophe. I want you to think about this. What's one area where your communication could be shorter, sharper, and more decisive? Who needs that clarity from you right now? I am TC, and this is Tools of Fighter Pilots. Non-negotiable of fighter pilots number 5, control the controllables. Chaos is coming, so start with what's yours to hold. The story of today is a story of 2 F-16 which were tasked to provide defensive counter-air in the Northern Sea in a segregated airspace adjacent to Denmark against a package of 30 airplanes flying south to north to attack a ship in the middle of the sea. For the completion purposes, we were asked to take off from Florence first and land after the last of the formation of the package, scoring 3 hours and 30 minutes of flight. The F-16 was an amazing machine. If you were able to climb very high, it would make fuel, consuming almost nothing. The problem here was not only that we had to cover a huge vulnerability time, which is the duration of the exercise, but we had also to combat. I asked the general to allocate a minimum amount of fuel from the Dutch KC-10 in order to refuel on the way back. And that was granted. So we were on time, we were on station, and covered the requested full time until our bingo fuel, which would have allowed me and my wingman to proceed to the tanker and get the extra gas to go back home. Little we knew, as soon as we contacted boomer frequency, the frequency of the guy that was supposed to give us fuel, we received a surprising, "Sorry guys, the German Phantoms took it all." I know we are Italians and we like negotiate, but there was nothing for us. At the point, the list of things we were in control had reduced drastically to the fuel that we had. As mentioned before, the F-16 is an amazing fuel-efficient aircraft, especially at high altitude. At the point, I remember what my instructor used to say in pilot training. If you are the pilot in command, you need to tell ATC what you want to do. Otherwise, you will be channelized in the civilian traffic and your minimum reserves of fuel won't last long. So we asked the controller an altitude above all the civilian routes, which would allow us to consume the least minimum amount of gas. Not only that, we were able also to request and receive approved shortcut of our route back home. The fact that the plan was falling apart didn't stop us from overcoming new scenarios that we didn't expect. We had to adapt by focusing on what we could influence, which was the fuel and was the expert use of our aircraft. If you're thinking about business, you cannot control market crashes, but you can control preparation, training, and team morale. When you're thinking about sport, an endurance race, you cannot control the weather, but you can control execution, effort, and attitude. In life, you cannot control every crisis, but you can control your response to your next move. The key takeaway here is that we need to focus our energy on what we can influence. Everything else, adapt and overcome. I want you to reflect on this. What's one challenge you are facing right now where you're wasting energy on the uncontrollable? How can you shift that focus today? I am TC, and this is Tools of Fighter Pilots. In the cockpit, being on time, being prepared, using structure and checklists, communicating clearly, controlling the controllables, these are 5 principles that are non-negotiable. If you transfer them in life, they shouldn't be either. Whether you're running a company, training for an endurance competition, or just trying to win the day, dealing with family and life dynamics, these principles will keep you mission ready. Because in the air and in life, you only get one pass. Make it count. If you like the episode of the 5 non-negotiable of fighter pilots, DM. I will send you a reflection worksheet designed to help you apply the 5 non-negotiable from the cockpit to your business, sport, and life. So after listening to the episodes, you're going to take time to reflect on each question and write your answers. Remember, insight without action changes nothing. So use this answer to set your next moves. To the next one, stay sharp, stay ahead. I am TC, and this is Tools of Fighter Pilots.